This is Scott from KIG. It is March 4th, 2022. We're going to do a couple runoff videos today of this very slick 10-ton air-cooled glycol chiller by Thermal Care. This is their highest end NQV model, which is basically their variable speed inverter chiller. So 2018 unit, 460 volt. Definitely amongst the most impressive engineering and especially controls technology that we've seen ever on a 10-ton chiller, or a chiller in this size range, to be honest with you. This is just a brief overview of the inside control area. You really aren't going to have to mess with anything in here, but this is your main incoming power here. Your disconnect. We have two controls, one for a motorized hot gas bypass and one for the expansion valve also. You got your main PLC, contactors and overloads for the compressor, fans and pump, power supply, phase monitor, and this is kind of the heart of the unit, which is this inverter drive and associated power supply for this true variable speed scroll compressor that's in the unit. In here, we got the covers off for this portion of the video. We have our reservoir tank and all the piping and so forth. This is our 2 horsepower glycol pump. This we modified for a brewery. What does that mean? That means when we have a brewery, we want to pipe it such that the flow goes through the evaporator heat exchanger first before it goes out to the process. So what do? We made sure that the pump draws from the tank. That's the suction side of the pump. And it comes up and goes into the evaporator. This whole thing here is the evaporator. Goes through there where heat is exchanged. Then it goes out to our process. It goes from here to the output of the chiller to process. From process basically then goes right back to the tank. So what that means is that we really don't require any pressure on the return flow coming back to the tank. And that is how you want any type of brewery setup, because beer tanks like these consume a lot of head, a lot of pressure, and they're also many times of questionable design integrity as far as receiving high pressure. So it's a general rule that all brewery chillers that we pipe in this manner, and we've been doing it for years, and we've done it hundreds of times. This chiller has electronic everything. We have two different sensors for temperature location. We have transducers for pressure. We have the motorized hot gas that I mentioned, and motorized expansion valves, all controllable and adjustable through the controller. Again, very impressive. We have a little manual bypass in here. We'll leave that cracked open. You probably don't have to put a bypass valve at the end of your supply line in your brewery, because we have this cracked open. What we have here is it already has an overhead piping kit. That's a solenoid valve. That valve will close when the power is down on the chiller. Similarly, we have a swing check or a check valve right here. So when you shut the chiller down, all the flow is locked in place, so you won't have any flow back. In some cases, if you didn't have that, if you turn the chiller off, piping from overhead may allow glycol to come down and leak out of this reservoir here. We have a Y strainer already in here. Again, super nice, and it has a little port right there for access, but there's a mesh screen in there you can take out for checking. For our testing, we put on some type of a load. In this case here, we just got a little air handler here, just to give it some kind of load. Not many people in this industry would take a used 10-ton chiller and test it to this extent, but we do. So we pipe a loop here, and then we tee off the loop, so a portion of the a portion of the glycol will go through this air handler, just so we can have some type of load. The compressor in this case just constantly changes and adjusts its RPMs based on the load, and almost everything on this chiller is adjustable. Again, some of the most impressive stuff we've seen in a while. So I'm going to put the covers on. I'm going to shut the cabinet door and start video number 2.